Hi, we're Dragonmount. We're here to discuss episodes 1 through 3 and whatever else Wheel of Time related that you want to talk about.
Yeah, he did. He did eat a quesadilla. That's what the Tinkers gave him. It looked like a little with cheese on it inside his bowl.
Yes, but considering that they're vegetarian, it was going to be a vegetarian quesadilla. I don't know if they're going to go full on vegan. So,
Yeah, I think
not that that's a huge thing, but
I think they
maybe
eat eggs and cheese. They have to. I think it'd be
they do.
impossible to be vegan in Randland.
Yeah, I don't know if you could get enough protein content to try to be a vegan. Well, I love that we opened with that.
Great. First discussion. Parent eating a quesadilla. Okay. Hmm.
That's probably okay.
Right.
I do need to apologize for the wiggling screen. I have a cat rubbing the tripod. Seriously, cat? Tom is working on his audio. You want to start, Maureen?
Yeah, sure. Thoughts on Matt. So I think it's interesting that they made him a little bit more damaged than we've seen in the books. And I keep coming back to this. I know a lot of people are really upset that they keep saying he's not like in the books. Perrin's not like in the books. Fran's not like in the books. And one of the cardinal rules of storytelling is show not tell. And so, like, we can have our characters talk and say, oh, well, Matt's this way and Matt's that way and blah, 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 blah. But this shows us what Matt is. It shows us his character. It shows us a glimpse into why he is the way he is. So I like it. I think it's a little bit darker, but I'm okay with that.
I also like how they changed social status, essentially, showing that there were levels in the two rivers because it's not just this one flat, oh, everybody's absolutely the same. And what I love about Matt is the absolute sweetness of he is there for his sisters. All of it. He's not just this terrible guy. There's a reasoning and there's essentially a good reasoning. And it is shown, just like you said, because nobody wants exposition, right. Or like 2 weeks later. Like, so I also am a fan of Matt.
Can you guys hear me now? Can the stream hear me? I think I fixed it.
Hopefully.
We'll see if it comes through in a second.
Okay. Yeah, and because there's been a lot of times where, yeah, you do see that part where he's a bit of a prick and he, stole from, oh, what was her name at the end? I don't even remember. Diana. Is that what it was? So he's got these questionable characteristics. But then, yeah.
But he always had them. Like in the books, I swear, that's why we loved him. He's like a rogue. He's a little rough around the edges. Absolutely. But then when they put it into a realistic setting, and I think that's the issue with a lot of things, is putting this into a realistic setting instead of, I mean, when we read fantasy, it's super easy, but we have to have some grounding, and this grounds him, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I fixed it, by the way, so yay. So someone called out Star Night Song 101 asked, or said, I think the ability to dismember or disable an Aes Sedai by simply dismembering them is bad. I have a feeling on this, but do either of you want to chime in on that yet?
Tom, you haven't talked yet, so I think you should answer this one.
Okay. So personally, my feelings on this is that they're going to use this, how the Aes Sedai feel like they have to use these hand motions and stuff, is a way to drive home the fact that the Aes Sedai don't actually know everything about the One Power. When later we learn other channelers don't use them. like in the books, when we learn that the Aiel Wise Ones and the Windfinders channel, the way they channel and the things they do when they channel are very different from the Aes Sedai. And I remember reading in the books for the first time when I found out that the Aes Sedai were not the be all end all of knowledge, that was like poignant. And I really feel like a way that they'll do that with this is like, we're going to see like an Aiel Wise One just kind of like standing stark still, like, you know, and a fireball just shoots out from like next to her head or some junk or something like that. Something very, very specific where it's like, oh no, she didn't use her hands or whatever, you know? And then I started to be like, that's impossible. And that's how they're going to, you know, that they're going to use that as a way to show that yes, the Aes Sedai are fallible and they don't know everything.
To go off of on that, I do believe that same. I can see that. And if you were raised and brought up in the tower thinking you have to have your hands for channeling, and that is your truth, they're not going to know that they can, and they're not going to potentially have the ability, because if you learn things one way and something is super different, I mean, even, I don't know, that's how I can justify it in my mind doing that as well. It was a very vivid scene and very interesting. But because they can't lie, can they even lie to themselves? I don't think so. So it's you know, like, I can't channel without my hands.
Exactly.
Therefore.
And I'm going to go the complete opposite direction and say that she has 4 fruit tea.
4 fruit tea. Yeah, they're already going to bring the 4 fruit in. Yeah, that's possible.
Have a way to subdue an Aes Sedai. Because I think, like, yeah, if you have this mental block where you have to use your hands, but we've seen in times of desperation, they do things unexpected. So I think if you're tied to the stake and burning and you don't have your hands, I think you could do the mental loops to be like, oh, I'm going to try this without my hands. I think Aes Sedai are strong. I think so. I think they would be able to get around that. So I think, yeah, they drugged her.
Absolutely plausible too. Yeah. I mean, that's 100% plausible. In canon would make sense. As the reason why they couldn't do it at that point.
And a good reason to bring it up, especially towards the beginning, is we do have to see them as fallible. Like, not everybody can be, I mean, it's not Superman.
Yeah.
There's not, you know, like, these have to be, yet again, grounded, and you have to have some sort of negative, some sort of, you can't be all powerful. It doesn't, it makes your brain go, no, not realistic. And this makes it kind of realistic.
That's something that Maureen and Kathy and Rajiv talked about on the podcast, and something that I've been saying for years. And it's funny that you said Superman, because that's the feeling that I get from like the DC is their heroes are just not human. They don't feel human. Like, they don't feel realistic. And that's this is it's a perfect segue, because a lot of the people in chat right now are talking about like Matt's still the reluctant hero, the way that their changes were great ways to show their traits. And I feel like that goes right toward how they made these characters more because they gave them more of a realistic life. And I don't want to say realistic. It was just like in the books, everyone had a perfect life. You know what I mean? Like, everyone had both, well, except for Rand, but like most of the people had both parents. Most of the people had very little to no trauma in their life. You know, like it was like a perfect little community in the 2 rivers, minus the Coplans and the Congers and Senbui.
Okay, sorry. Side note: Days Conger, Days at the end of episode 1. Hello, I am now a Conger fan.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's real quick. I mean, we're just assuming that the woman who's drinking the ale in the beginning of the movie, and then the woman who like is like, you know, come taste this or whatever with the Trollocs is Days Conger for sure. Like that's what we're talking about. Okay, I'm just making sure, because like, yeah, obviously, if that's Days Conger, I love her now, and she's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because Tam says the Coplans and the Congers are gonna do something as he's looking at her. So yeah. One.
Other questions?
But what I was going to say is the changes to these characters make them more realistic, and they're more fallible. Like the fact that Matt has the trauma that he has kind of explains his character, where in the book, it's just like, you know, one of those fantasy tropes where it's like, you have to have the roguish archetype, and then you have to have the big, strong, silent archetype with Perrin. And then, like, instead of giving them a more realistic background that makes them feel more human, they were from the beginning like these pinnacles and like these pillars of the story. But yeah, that's like, especially with Perrin, like, the problems that he has with fighting and the choices that he has to make between the axe and the hammer is going to be really interesting with the fact that he, spoiler alert, killed his wife in the first episode. So with an axe.
Well, and it's so interesting with that, because now he's got a legitimate reason to be broody and angsty, instead of you're reading it like, dude, you killed somebody in self-defense in book 1. Now it's, oh, there's an actual reason. And shock. Yes, that was a huge difference, but I mean, that difference lasted 5 minutes, and we still have 13 books to go. So I think it's a big thing without being a big thing, but it gives him so much more depth, instead of, oh no, I'm the thinker and axes are scary.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the books and I love the character in the books, but this just brings, like, nowadays people want this type of realistic character. Like, that's why, in my opinion, that's why the Marvel movies did so good. Like, Iron Man is fallible. He has all this trauma and all these flaws, and it makes him much more of an interesting character to watch.
Definitely.
So a couple of people in chat, someone brought up a particular theory that I forgot who originally posted it. I forgot where I saw it. Someone brought it up to me the day before yesterday. And that is that Layla is a dark friend.
I can see it. I think that
I can see it.
Yeah. So Matt Blocker is the one that mentioned it first here. The prevailing reasoning behind that I've seen is that because they're fighting the Trollocs, Perrin is down on the ground hitting this Trolloc with the axe, and Layla is coming up behind him with her hammer over her head. And what is she like? Both Trollocs are dead. So why is she doing this? Like, why? Like, what's the reasoning for that? But it also explains why maybe she's been distant from the women's circle, and she didn't go to the inn that night because she knew, like, the time is coming now. I'm gonna have to kill my husband. I'm gonna have
She did not love him.
That's what it felt like.
It felt like it was either an arranged marriage or something along those lines. However, personal opinion, she had the best braid.
I will agree with that. Absolutely.
I noticed.
And then someone just pointed out, Tyler the Manimal pointed out that the wolf in his dream is pulling her apart.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a lot there. There's definitely a lot there. I feel like if they could just throw her away at this point and be like, this is the reason why Perrin's angsty. A little cheap, like, to have this whole character and just do that. But I really think that there's a solid story here, story opportunity here to make her a dark friend.
Yeah. And then when Perrin finds out, it's going to release a lot of his angst, and he's going to be able to move on. And I don't know if they're including fight or not, but
yeah, I'm saying, like, or will it make it worse? You know what I mean? Like
finding out that he ended up doing good, but still realizing he did love her. You could see that he did.
He definitely
did. Content and
yeah. I mean,
dumb boy.
Yeah, I mean, with the scene where he's asleep and she is awake, and she, like, that seems to be like a honest, loving moment from her to him. So maybe there, and that could be why she was torn with that. I mean, the only way to truly get a good explanation of that would be to have like a flashback with her, like being a dark friend or something. And I mean, it could with Padan Fane, because all right, so that's he's
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, oh my god, I forgot his name. What's his name? I'm terrible. I'm a horrible person. But he's amazing.
Yeah, you are.
He is amazing. Him and Abdul Salis, Eamon Valda, are two villains in this series that are just amazing.
So good.
My god. His smile, like, oh my god. The whistle that he does, which, by the way, I don't know if anyone else picked up, you could hear that whistle several times when bad shit happens throughout the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, I had to watch it 3 times before I spotted it, but yeah,
Yeah.
eventually I got there.
Yeah. Whatchamacall? Talking about Pat and Fane there, specifically with Layla, I think personally that we're gonna get a Pat and Fane, not episode, but maybe sequence where we see the things that he's doing along the course of the first, few episodes. Like, maybe him conferring with the Murdril and the Trollocs, or uh, personally, I think he is the one who killed those sheep that are in the position of the Dragon Fang. I don't see a Trolloc doing that. And honestly,
Yeah,
there's no reason for the Murdril to do it. And if the Murdril was doing it, the Trollocs would be there. They would have eaten the sheep. I think he did that to signal to the Trollocs and the Murdril, this is the town. This is the town where the dragon is, hence the Dragon Fang. Like,
or Layla.
or it could have been Layla to signal to.
She wasn't at the women's circle thing.
Yeah, she could have been doing that. Absolutely.
Let's start rumors.
Yeah, all the rumors, all the rumors. And then just to stay on Pat and Fane for a second, we go to Shatter Logoth, and we see the bit where the shadow is passing through the doorway. I'm convinced that was Pat and Fane. Like, absolutely convinced that was Pat and Fane. And I think we'll get a sequence also with Pat and Fane, either speaking directly with like a sentient Mordith or Mashadar, or just being touched by Mashadar and somehow him not dying because of whatever the Dark One did to him or whatnot. But I think we're gonna get something with that.
I agree.
Let's see, what else are people wanting to talk about? So we got the wolf pulling her apart. Was there any braid tugging? Star Night Song is asking again. Did you guys notice any braid tugging?
He tossed her hair back once.
It was a toss to get it out of the way, and that was an amazing scene.
Oh,
like, I am loving her direction. I'm loving that she is a fighter and she is there to save her friends and her town, and she will do what it takes. And oh, I just got chills again.
I know, me too. She's amazing. So amazing.
Zoe's so good. She's so good. The casting for everybody is amazing. But whatchamacall, Zoe has been, like, Nynaeve has been fantastic. I've always liked Nynaeve. Like, out of the Emmons Fielders.
Yes.
My feelings on those characters was always Perrin, Nynaeve, Matt, Rand, Egwene. Like, on like the order that I liked them.
I can see that. Egwene for me was also kind of bottom of the pile, but now,
oh yeah, not anymore. Yeah. Madeline, like her portrayal of Egwene here, because I always, and the feeling there was because they were kids in the books. They were much younger, so she always felt like 15, just like a 16? Petulant child a little bit. They all did, which is part of the reason why I like that they aged them up. Sorry.
Definitely.
They did explain the braid tugging though in the beginning when they did the women's circle ceremony. Nynaeve, when she was braiding her hair, she said, you grab, hold this braid or whatever to feel the women in the women's circle being with you or whatever like that. So it kind of added a canonic reason for the braid tugging, which is fun.
Wow.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's a nice touch. I like the braid tugging personally.
In the books, it got annoying, but I feel like Robert Jordan was a man who really appreciated women. I don't know. I mean, I do know some of you have also had the privilege of being in his office, but tons and tons of figurines of anime characters with voluptuous proportions. Like, there's a lot of women appreciation without, there was a dash of reality that was missing.
Yeah.
And that's in the books. Like, I totally want to change the subject now, and I think I'm going to do it. So the shawls, let's go there. Yeah. Let's go to the shawls. Okay. So many of us have cosplayed or gone to conventions for years and years and years, and a lot of us have worn the shawls. They're a freaking pain in the ass. They don't stay on, and if you pull them up and over, they just look like you're wearing a slouchy blanket. There's no refinement. There's no elegance to them. And I do believe that this was a phenomenal call, because you can't, like, your arms are down unless you've got armholes, and at that point, then you've got a poncho, and yet again, not elegant. The Aes Sedai are supposed to always be poised and statuesque, regardless of their physicalities. And the shawls came from a man's mind 30 years ago who probably never wore a shawl, especially with fringe.
Yeah.
Fringe gets tangled, fringe gets dirty. I don't know how much of the one power they use to do laundry and to be like, oh, I'm going to use a little bit of air to pin it here and here, but you can't raise your arms. Like I'm 100% for getting rid of shawls. And I know that that is a fiery opinion, but wear a shawl all day and then come fight me.
Yeah. Or try to do something in a shawl and not have it just constantly fall off.
Yeah. No, they are very difficult to wear. Yeah. But they're so stylish. Like if you're just standing still and taking a picture, they look very elegant.
They do.
Exactly. So I could see them potentially bringing them back I could see it for ceremonies.
Yeah, for formal ceremonies.
For like the official formal. Yeah. Just like the queen doesn't always wear her crown.
Yeah.
Like official ceremonies.
Yeah. So someone mentioned the characters' ages. I just want to go back to that real quick. So Katie said they were 20 and Egwene was 17 and 18. So we do know actually that the three boys were all 19 because they were born in 978 NE, which like that's in the books, that's canon. And then when the dragon was born is also dated. Egwene is a little looser. We're not sure if she's 16 or 17, but she's either 16 or 17. So they did age up these characters quite a bit. So Egwene at least, at most 4 years, but at least 3. And then the boys 1 year because they're all 20. We know that. Because she's looking someone who's specifically 20.
I prefer an older Egwene, especially.
Me too.
Then it's not just like a little childish crush on Rand because that I don't know, that got a little... especially if she was that young and he was 19. Yes, it is a small sheep village. They've all been watching animals procreate for years. They've all helped. I do believe there's no virgin culture in Randland. There's none of that. So, and they probably have herbs and blah, blah, blah. But I do appreciate aging her up and aging the guys up a little bit, considering they're doing this massive journey and this is for an audience of today.
Yeah. It's also like, I mean, you don't want to have people underage engaged in these things that they're doing on the screens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's leave it at that. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I like that. Yeah. But also like, so someone said they adulted the show up a bit. I don't think they did. Like they didn't really change much about the show or much about the story other than making it slightly more realistic. Yes, there are some sexual scenes with like Rand and Egwene, but I feel like
they were teenagers.
They're teenagers.
I think they would
like
have been doing that anyway.
Yeah,
everyone's like sexual awakening is like what, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, like it's much more realistic that they wouldn't have that they would have engaged in some sort of sexual act prior to to that. Like the idea of the prudish idea of like no sex and stuff like that was very just a product of who wrote the series. And no hate on Robert Jordan. I love everything that he did, but that was a theming, especially just fantasy at that time and fantasy prior to that. That was just the theme. It was just very chaste. Sorry.
And I do love that it wasn't gratuitous sex scenes. It wasn't gratuitous nudity. There was a quick, just sterile butt shot, which I was okay with.
Me too, Daniel Henney.
And then like it was essentially with Rand and Egwene, it was just fade to black.
Mm-hmm.
Yet again, we are also making assumptions. Maybe they just got to second base. Like we don't know.
That's true. I like that bit with Moiraine and Land also because it kind of just showed this non-sexual relationship on how comfortable they are with each other.
I loved that.
Yeah.
That was good.
That intimacy they have there, that is platonic, is amazing.
Yep.
So,
and I would use the power to heat up water.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Why would you not?
So someone mentioned, what about this was, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. KHU_NA asked, what about Leandrin seemingly gentling that man on the spot? I'm assuming in the first episode. It looked painful. And then what she says about the one power was odd. So
it seems the one power is a whole. They're not splitting it. So men touch it and women touch it. They haven't said inside.
I thought that too. I thought that too, because she said, like, she didn't say Saidin or Saidar, but in their X-ray stuff, they specifically mention Saidin and Saidar.
I watched this last night, but I didn't catch that.
The evil. I'll check that out and bring it back up in a minute. I'll find it. But
Like, even more focuses on it's the one power. They're
Yeah.
making it go through one. So I don't know. But Leandrin, I can see her point, and that's really sad to agree with somebody we know who is I don't know. Are we doing spoilers? I can't remember.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
for the first few episodes, so we'll just make an announcement pretty much. We're going to spoil the books. So if anyone hasn't read the books, we'll try to keep it in book one, or but if we're gonna spoil further books, just mention it.
Right, book spoiler. Leandrin's a dark friend, and so I think it's really strange that I'm agreeing with her so much. And it could just be that she's portrayed so well. And I don't remember the actress's name, but
Her face, like,
everything about
It's
her.
amazing.
Oh, so I found it, by the way. It's in the general trivia, where, like, in the X-ray they break it down scene for scene, and in the general trivia it says channeling is risky for the untrained. When women embracing the one power must always have care not to draw too much. The more a woman handles Saidar, the more she wants to hold. Someone should someone take more of the power that they can manage, they'll burn themselves out, blah blah blah. And then they mention Saidin in another trivia too. So
Maybe a little bit later they'll get
Yeah.
into that. It's not bombarding us with the differences right off the bat.
so many words for people that aren't book fans. That's a lot of
And
words
it's also-
that made up words.
maybe they're trying to bring about her essentially like evilness at the beginning. It could be just her opinion on that, not all the Aes Sedai, because I don't think we know specifically if all of the Aes Sedai right now feel that way about it.
About gentling the men.
Yeah.
Or, well, about how, like, I mean, obviously there's the stereotype that Reds hate men, and I don't know if they're leaning into that or if they're going to do all of the Aes Sedai hate men.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I-
I just
I don't think so.
you can't bring every single man you find to the White Tower. It would take forever. Like, okay, let's find this man and drag him back. Now let's go out. Find this man, drag him back. Let's go back.
Yeah.
out. It would
So
be-
gentling on the spot makes sense. It does look painful. And we did, I mean, in the books, it does talk about not the actual process, but that it is also terrible. And they talk about it as a severing of the source. And I think anything along those lines is going to be painful. And she probably also enjoys it a little bit.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. No, she's smiling. She's happy.
Personally, I think that they're going to do the whole thing with because the Reds didn't have warders, so obviously they don't want warders. I think there's going to be a shy away from men with the Reds like that. I don't know if they're going to go full on like the Reds hate men, but I definitely think there's going to be some of that there. It definitely they already kind of set up that they're supposed to be taking back the men to the tower because the White Cloaks say like they sent out Aes Sedai to capture or to deal with Logain, and I'd like to see if they are going to do like reprimanding of Leandrin or whatever for gentling these people on the spot, or like how they're going to deal with Logain and all that. So it's going to be interesting. Like they did gentle that dude there. Like that's at least what I think they did. That's my opinion. It seemed painful, but that's
if she's a dark friend, the 3 oaths don't apply to her.
They don't apply to her, yeah, and she won't care. She'll think of a reason why. So someone said we're told that it's against tower law to gentle on the spot. Yeah, it's unless it like absolutely necessary. Like there we definitely see that the tower law can be bent depending on who's doing it, especially with Moiraine. But the Reds, I feel like the Reds in particular, when they're dealing with the men who can channel, especially where the tower is at the point in the books, meaning their rosters are low, they might want to not risk so many Aes Sedai. So if they're like, oh, we had to channel, we had to, gentle them on the spot, they could probably rationalize it and still get away with it.
Yeah, the mental gymnastics like needed to do that, I think would be very easy for any of the Aes Sedai to do. Like they're in where they need to do it.
Yeah, there's a particular disdain there for men who can channel. So Yeah, so someone said maybe they'll only gentle on the spot when they're already mad. She does say like, "Oh, the madness has taken you already." So
Okay, yeah, it was pretty
maybe
obvious.
that could have
Insane.
something to
Yeah,
do with
that's
it.
a good point.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the madness, it really does seem like they're gonna like either they're making it so like the way the madness manifests at all is imagining other people around you, setting up, loose theron.
Yeah, definitely.
Or that just coincidentally, this person's madness manifested in the same way as, spoiler alert, Rand's does later.
Yeah. No, there's so much possibilities, and it just gets me so excited thinking like all the different ways this can go.
Let's see. So someone said, "Are all the reds black?" No, definitely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, we know they're not. Like from the series, like canonically in the book series, they're not. The Reds think they're doing the right thing. What was that?
I was gonna say there are some amazing and wonderful Reds in the books.
Absolutely.
They're not all terrible. It's just unfortunately a delightful stereotype that is easy to put on the Reds.
Yeah. Well, especially from a man, like from a man's point of view, that's an easy stereotype to apply to them.
I think I could see the White Asha having the most black sisters just because the logic of it, like Dana said in episode 3, like logically we got to end it or else it's going to continue and continue and continue.
Yeah, that was a really interesting point that they made there, because in the books, it really feels like the only Dark Friend who gets it is Ishmael. Like the only Dark Friend who really understands what it means for the Dark One to win is Ishmael. Where all the other Dark Friends are just like, I want to rule the world, or I want to live forever, or I want power, or I want to be in charge of my town, or I want money. Or
yeah,
yeah, but I mean, like, if the Dark One wins, what's going to happen is what they said. So, like that's, it's interesting to see that coming from essentially a low tier Dark Friend. Like she's not a channeler. She's an innkeeper in a tiny town. So it's not like, I mean, well, that's what she's, but they did seem to recognize her in that town. So it's not like she just showed up there. So she could be high standing, because we do know in the books that they say like, a beggar could be placed above a lord, in the Dark Friend hierarchy, but she's not a channeler. So like there's that much where we know the Dark Friends who channel tend to be higher ranking amongst the Shadow than non-channelers. But for her to be that educated, I feel like, on what it would mean for the Dark One to win is a different take on the common Dark Friend from the books.
I also like that they keep bringing up the theme of the actual Wheel of Time, because obviously we all say, oh, the Wheel of Time, the Wheel of Time, the Wheel of Time. But what does that even mean if you haven't read the book? So it's nice to see how they're bringing in things, because you have to assume a lot of the people haven't read the books, and that's why there has to be some mystery. There has to be some, like, they can't be like, hey, Rand is the dragon. Then why? No, this is a television show. But I do love that they keep bringing in the wheel, and they're explaining the wheel as a belief system, as their reality, without it being, yet again, just like exposition, and then seeing the opposite side of, you're like, oh wait, there's a lot of suffering, and if you just stop it, then it stops. That's great, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not Dark Friend. I just can see the point.
From a certain point of view, it makes sense. Like Dana, she probably joined the Dark One out of desperation. Like she said, she's stuck there. She can't do anything. What other options does she have?
Yeah. Andre Callan said she did summon a fade. So
she has ways to reaching out.
Yeah, I mean, she has ways to reaching out. Like that could signify that she has some standing amongst the Dark Friends, like with the ability to be able to somehow contact a fade from the village without like having to like ride out into the wilderness and somehow, like, how do you contact a fade? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
you just touch your dark mark.
Yeah, like
wait, wrong series.
But like, maybe a terangrial, a dream terangrial, who knows? Like, so that is a great point. That is definitely a great point on she did have that ability, so that could belie that she has some higher standing than just the common Dark Friend. Where was Min and Bella? Bella's there. They say Bella. They say her name. And if you go to
they named her.
Yes, they did. But did you see, if you go to the creatures in the X-ray of Amazon, there's 3 creatures listed currently. I think it's Murdril, Trollocs, and Bella.
I have not seen that yet.
Yeah, if you go
She's
there,
my girl.
that's Bella is listed as it's like a creature. I forgot what
And
the.
she's listed with the dark friends. That's
Oh, she is the dark one. I knew it. I knew it.
or
Yeah,
she's the creator. We're not going to do full on spoilers.
That's fair. That's fair.
Some arguments for that, but yeah, Egwene's riding Bella. When they get separated at Shire Logoth, only Lan takes Mandarb and Aldieb. So Bella is, I don't know.
I'm so mad at him.
So here's something that I definitely want to I'd like to address here. So someone is calling out, why is the show considering Egwene as a possible dragon? So I'm glad that they're doing that. For one thing, if you forget everything you know about the books and you just take the show at face value, they're doing a pretty good job at disguising who the dragon is. Like, as book readers, we can assume we know who it is, 99.9999% sure we know that it's going to go along with the books, because it would require way too much changing to change that. But right now, I feel like, based off what we know from the first 3 episodes, we would know that the dragon is either going to be it could be Ranmat or Perrin at this point, or Egwene. We know it's not Nynaeve because Maureen kind of ruled her out in the pool when she was cleaning the pool with the age. Yeah, sure. Like,
but there was a 5th that was mentioned.
Yeah, that was before she ruled Egwene out.
No, Dana, right? The dark friend at the very end. She's like, no, I've been dreaming of you. There's 5.
Yeah, well, she doesn't know though.
That's right.
Yeah,
okay, so that could have been
Maureen knows, but I don't think the dark knows yet, which is also good. Like, they don't know for sure. Like, it shows that the dark ones don't have all or the dark friends don't have all the information either. Because you could tell as soon as, like, you could see on Rosamund's face, as soon as she found out, when she said, so that makes you 25 or 26. And immediately after that, she just started ignoring Nynaeve. Like, she stopped listening to what she was saying. She moved on to something else in her brain.
I back to the whole Egwene thing. I can appreciate it as, for somebody who hasn't read the books, it gives more of a mystery. We all know it's going to be Rand. They're not going to change the heart of the story.
But too much change.
Making her, we already know her path. We already know that she is this amazing, wonderful person, but just throwing on the label of potential Ta'veren and potential dragon, it just also brings in more that it's not always a man that is reborn, which, I mean, people can argue that it always has to be a man, but if it's every 3,000 years, I mean, or whatever it's supposed to be, I'm appreciative of it because it's not going to be her. Like, if they were changing it to her, then obviously let's set fire to everything, but don't do that. But the fact that they are giving the watchers who don't know the story more of a, hey, you don't know the story and you're still not going to know. Like, they need to add more for the mystery instead of just like, here's this.
Absolutely. And representation too, because it's not just, only the 3 men have the possibility of being the dragon. It could be the woman, which goes to what someone else said. So are they not considering Saidin and Saidar and stuff like that? I personally think that, first of all, they are keeping Saidin and Saidar. For the person that asked, they did, or that is, it's mentioned directly in the trivia for the show. If you go back and read through the X-ray stuff, you'll see that it is mentioned. So that's canon for now. I personally think that they're making the people of the time in this setting just less knowledgeable than they were in the books. So, like, I think that the Aes Sedai, or at least the ones that have said it so far, don't know for sure how the rebirth process works. So maybe they do legitimately think that the dragon could be reborn as a woman because they don't understand how it works. That's my personal feeling. That we'll learn as the audience that there are rules or boundaries to how those things work, but we'll learn it in a more natural way. Yeah. Instead of just having someone sit down and give us a class on the Wheel of Time mid-episode, we'll learn it organically. That's the word I was looking for. Organically throughout, when the characters learn it themselves.
And since they don't even know, I mean, it's been so long, there's no notes, there's no floppy disks left
Exactly,
over.
like-
I don't know why I just threw out floppy disks, but
I mean, I'm sure they existed at some point. Someone else said something that I wanted to mention too, and I can't remember. Oh, Tavarin. I was gonna pin that and say, remind me to talk about that in a minute, but I'm proud of myself again for remembering. So they do say that there's 5 Tavarin in the Two Rivers. So now this goes to a theory that I've long held, and I'm curious to see what you guys think and what you all think in the chat about Tavarin specifically. I've always felt that Tavarin are like a defense mechanism from the pattern itself. Like when the pattern starts to sense corruption or change that isn't to its design, it spits out a Tavarin to correct it, because it's all about balance, and we know they swirl the pattern around them. I think they're doing that in such a way to correct whatever imbalance or change has been caused to the pattern. We do also find out throughout the book series that people can be Tavarin and not be Tavarin in a lifetime. Like a Tavarin-ness nature can manifest and go away throughout a lifetime. So I think either they're going to just make Egwene and Nynaeve Tavarin from day one, or maybe they were and they're not now and they will be again, or whatever. Some sort of pattern there, because it makes sense that they're Tavarin. Like they're just as important to the to the story as Rand, Mat, and Perrin are. If you remove Egwene, they lose.
Some of them.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
More so than some of the boys. The
Absolutely.
that she plays in the later books, like she's integral.
Oh yeah. Without her, spoiler alert for book 9. Without her, the Sidene doesn't get clean. So,
or even spoiler alert for A Memory of Light, like it's her and Moraine that link with Rand and cleanse. I mean,
fix the world, win the last battle.
So Matt might be as equally as important as Nynaeve with his battle prowess, but Perrin, like what did he do? Like he killed Lanfear. Like I think that was the only thing he did.
Listen. All right, so another spoiler for Memory of Light. That scene when he is in Tel'aran'rhiod and he catches balefire in his hand and is like, it's just channeling. And Egwene's like, son of a bitch. I still love that scene. But yeah, no, Perrin is probably the least impactful in the scheme of like weighing against Egwene, Nynaeve, Matt, and Rand. I think he would probably.
Well, we'll see what they're
going
going to do with him, though.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah. I mean,
they might bump him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
my personal opinion for the Tavarin. Obviously, this is obvious for me, but I'm thinking Bella. I mean, yet again, spoiler alert, what tiny little round pony lives through all of that?
Yeah. She was in more danger than all of them combined, and she survived.
Yeah.
So someone, their name rhymes with pterodactyl or ractic. I don't know. I'm sorry. I have dyslexia and I'm bad at reading, especially there's a lot of Y's in that name. Okay. They asked, or they said it was interesting that Nynaeve mentioned the White Tower didn't take a woman because she was a commoner.
Mm-hmm.
I love that buildup of snootiness.
Yeah. Interesting.
No,
so was incorrect that assumption, or do we think there are snooty Aes Sedai now?
There are definitely snooty Aes Sedai. I mean, there's snooty everybody.
But turn away women.
Yeah. I think specifically for this, it's one of those situations where either a story got told and was misrepresented in some way. I mean, it could be that they are, but I personally think what they'll retcon that in the way of when Nynaeve and Egwene themselves are at the tower, we'll see other people that are commoners there. And we'll learn again organically that Aes Sedai turn women away who they feel don't have the strength and the power or in character to become Aes Sedai. And that will probably be what Nynaeve learns about her mentor, that, she was wrong. Mm-hmm. I think they added that into to give more of a reason why Nynaeve is distrustful of the Aes Sedai instead of just, I don't like Aes Sedai.
Again, they're
Yeah.
background, and it's helpful.
Yeah, I was just going to agree. I do believe it's not having to do with her clothing or her peasant accent. I do believe it's going to be because she probably wasn't
strong enough.
She probably barely had a spark for the one power, but
Like, we know
that's more than anyone else had in the village.
But sometimes channelers have that special thing that they can do really, really well. And like she can barely light a flame, but she can listen to the wind like extremely well.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's just another way that or another example of how the Aes Sedai are fallible. They got it wrong. Like, when we meet the kin later, and we see that they take all these, well, not all, but they take a lot of these women in who are turned away from the tower or run away from the tower, and they are not. They should not have been cast away. Like they are like, I don't want to say useful because that sounds like dehumanizing, but I mean that's what it is. Like they can be useful as channelers, as important channelers in society. Like, I mean, look at what's his name? Sorry. His name is escaping me. The guy that makes the gateways, the Ashaman, that's with Pavara. Andral, yeah. So like he's got such a like a tiny ability with the one power, but he makes gateways like a crazy person. So like I'm sure there's Aes Sedai that or female channelers that had went to become Aes Sedai that slipped through the cracks that could have been so good at something. And that's and we see the examples of that in ways like Terangriel and Angriel and Sangriel. Creation is lost. Dreaming is lost because the abilities to do those things aren't tied to strength in the power in the one power. They're tied to just an innate ability that channelers have. So yeah.
I mean, because even Moraine says in the show that many women call it different things, but it's all the one power. So it makes it seem like women channel outside the tower much more commonly in this turning.
Yeah, there are definitely there are more. I don't know if they're going to go into the whole like channeling is, or being able to like the amount of people that can channel are like lessening due to the fact that they're kind of like Aes Sedai don't marry, don't have children, and are killing the men who can channel. I don't know if they're going to get into that, but
maybe.
I mean, they do that in the books, but I don't know if
that does bring in an interesting genetic aspect to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not 100% sure I remember because it's been a very long time since I've read like Robert Jordan's interviews, but I do believe he like within the story of the books. Again, that doesn't mean the show has to follow this. That the one power is tied, like being able to use the one power is tied to genetics. Like, if you have channelers in your family, you're more likely to be it's a recessive gene or something like that.
Yeah, it's not just like a random thing. I don't know if they're going to touch that. And that, yet again, that's not like a huge, I mean, for me, personal opinion, but like what I love so far is that they're staying true to the heart of the story. And that is something that I've been getting some interesting, like, oh, I hated this. I only watched for 15 minutes. Are you fucking kidding? Sorry, am I allowed to curse?
I don't know.
Too late, I already did. Yeah, are you kidding me?
I'm sweating because I've been editing my curses out.
I was doing so good. But like this story was written 30 years ago. I mean, that is literally a lifetime for some of our viewers. Yeah. And or more. And now the show has been created for the past 2 years by a showrunner who's had deep love for this series. He's read the series for 20 years with his mom. How cute is that? It's but so like cute. The fact is, like, no matter what, at the end of the day, any book you read is going to be a story in your head. You're going to change things. It is your own personal vision. And that is just one drop of water in the ocean of everybody else's vision. And you know what? You can't. Like, my drop of water is different than your drop of water, but put them together and there's still going to be a common theme. And I think that's what they're trying to do, is find the ocean, the essence of this. And yeah, if it bothers you that much, don't comment on a fan group. Go to a hate group and like let that eat your soul. Yeah. And then, or don't watch shows that are based on books that you love if you know you're that type of person.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I was going to go off on a rant on this,
No,
but like,
it's
really?
perfectly fine. I feel the
You're
same
giving
way.
it 15 minutes?
Right.
Wow. Like, I mean, I've been in the bathroom longer than that.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they released the first 3 at once. Episodes 1 and 2 are kind of have that slower start, building it up. And then 3 is where they tie it all together, and it's like, all right, now our action's happening. Now we're going fast paced. Now it's more engaging. 15 minutes, that's not enough time. You need the whole
because
story.
it's still a show. It is a television show. At the end of the day, it is a television show. They have to answer to a lot of other people. Books only have to answer to you. Like, once it's done through the editors and published, it's done.
Mhm.
You can change anything you want in the books. Your brain is going to read something the wrong way for a million years. I know. I do the pronunciations. I do them wrong in my head still. Like, do I change people's looks in my head? Probably, because I know my reality, but my reality is different than everybody else's.
Yeah.
So
That's a
it's not
human thing, to put yourself in what you're thinking about, and that's what reading is just thinking the words that you're looking at on the page. So humans do that. They put themselves in it. They tend to do that. And I like, and I don't know how in depth Jason or Dragonmount wants us to get into it, but I don't, honestly, I think it needs to be talked about, so I don't care. But I like the way they cast everyone. I like the diversity of the cast, and canonically, if you've actually read The Wheel of Time, it makes sense. So you have, particularly for the Two Rivers, Manetheren was a metropolis. It was a big city, and it was a trading city too. They also literally had the world torn to pieces, where they had sections of lands of peoples where people lived shuffled around like like a deck of cards. So people being mixed up makes sense for a lot of the areas. There are some like geographically, racially monolithic people, the Aiel, and that's because of their isolation. Randland, or whatever they're calling it, I think they're calling it the Westlands in the show. I don't remember.
Meow.
But the main continent of the area of the focus of the story, Randland, is a mishmash of everything, and that makes sense for what happened to that physically, to that land and its people. So I'm happy with it. And canonically, if you've ever really paid attention to the story, and are honest, you'll know that that's also correct to canon.
Well, a lot of the time, skin tone's not even mentioned. It's just large dark eyes and dark hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Purposefully, Robert Jordan did that so
like,
people could put themselves in it.
Exactly. Like, there's not too much detail. It's not picked apart, but there's, you get the basics and then your brain fills in the details.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I think part of the issue is because everyone's like, oh, but it's this small little town. Yes, but like you said, it came from this massive metropolis. And I mean, unless it's cousins marrying cousins, and we've got a lot of inbreeding going on, then obviously there's going to be new blood. There's going to be fresh blood. There's going to be like, I love the casting. And I also love that they didn't go, wow, this is going to be a random also sideways. Like, they are yet again grounding it. Like, Rand does not have bright ass flaming red hair, because in reality, that's not that common, especially if you're going with Aiel, and a specific red is usually with a paler skin tone. And if they're in the threefold land, it's a lot of sun. Like,
yep. It's going to bleach your hair.
Like, there's stuff that makes sense. And just like, sorry, this is a random, but like the Tinkers, the Tuatha on. I missed that apostrophe. But in the books, I always pictured these bright ass, like, highlighter neon colors. And when that first came across, I was like, hey, that's not. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. They don't have access to like rayon and plastics. Like, so what
or regularly
they have,
clean things.
Right. That was what I was going to say. Yeah.
Well, that too, yes. But it was just definitely interesting. As, oh, obviously it's not going to be these neon colors, because that's not what's found in nature. Now, what they used for nature, that was actually very bright.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, I need to check my own reality, because yet again, you're reading a book. It doesn't matter. You can make anything happen.
Um, let's see. I want to call. So someone posted about Tam, and I agree with it. I agree with it. So, Cav84 said I thought they rushed Tam a bit. I think they did too, particularly for people that don't know the books. I loved when he pulled out that sword and you saw the heron mark on the blade.
Oh my God.
But I could specifically say this because a friend of mine was watching this with his girlfriend, and neither of them are readers of the books. They were just excited to watch it because I've been talking about it for since I met them. And they were like, what was up with that? Like, they seemed to focus on the sword. Like, is that important in any way? And that makes sense. Like, so as a person who'd never seen or read the books, like, that doesn't make any sense. So it's not as cool. Like, it's cool for us, but it's not cool for anyone else. They're like, okay, it's a sword with a bird on it. Like, they don't understand what the point of that is. I mean, you get that he's a good swordsman with how freaking awesome he is directly after that, but yeah, I think they could have done that a little bit better, a little bit of exposition. Like, we did miss that exposition with the travel from their house to the Two Rivers proper, like the village. So yeah, there was a missed opportunity there to set some more backstory for Rand and Tam. For sure, I agree with that.
I'm hoping they do a flashback. I am hoping they do some more with Tam.
A lot of flashbacks we've set up already.
Yeah.
So we're writing the show.
But we can't do it all.
Hey Rafe, if you're watching flashbacks, let's do maybe just the X-ray. Just add them into all the flashbacks in there.
It could be there, but like you can't have all these small little pieces. It's too much for the people that read the books. Like, oh, here's a sidebar about a hair mark star. Who cares? Right now, it's not important. Yeah. Like, we can infer Tam is handy with it, and it has some significance, but I can hold on to that until they explain it later.
Yeah. And a couple of people are like, oh, what do you think of Tom? And I can't wait till they talk about Tom. So, and they don't mean me, by the way. It's fine. I could take a side. I could sit on the sidelines for a moment and not be the only Tom.
Spoiler.
One person said that they think Tom might be the one that'll bring this up, and that that definitely makes sense. Like, Tom will see the heron mark at some point and be like, what's up? Where'd you get that thing?
Let's talk about Tom. So this is, again, book spoiler, but now I understand Morgaze. Like, now, or Moraine.
Both of them.
Like, both of them. Now I'm like, oh, okay. Instead of this like jovial, like almost like Santa figure, now I'm all like, hey.
I second that. Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, they gave him a grittiness. Mm-hmm. And yet again, it's adding depth and grounding. And oh my God, I love what they did with the Gleeman cape. And they just did the lining. Because yet again, for me, the Gleeman cape goes with the shawls. Like, how are you going to be in a town wearing this? Right. You can't. And then they're always like, oh, they just wrap it up in a bundle and put it on their back. Do you know how freaking big a cape is going to be with like thousands of patches
with
on
a harp on it?
Grown-ass man. Like, we're talking a bundle like this big, and he's gonna have to get like an ox. Like, I'm glad they're bringing in a reality.
Yeah, they definitely ground the characters and the story in general like well from the books. Like, just to repeat, like, I've been, and I'm sure you guys are similar. We've been reading these books for longer than 15 years. Some of us closer to 25, 30 years at this point. And like, I love the series, but you have to be able to admit its failings. Like, there is a lot of unrealistic things with the character. Yeah, I mean, how many times, like, if you played a drinking game with how many times women cross their arms under their breasts, like, give me a break.
Because we can also always cross them over our breasts, so we had to specify.
Let's accentuate our breasts every moment.
Because up here, it's like, what the hell? Come on.
That's why I just do it all the time. Just like, yeah. I'm every time I stutter, it's because I'm editing a curse out of my out of my speech pattern. It's been tough, but no, I like what they did with Tom. He looks amazing. Like, I can see why Morgaze and Moraine in the books, if this was the Tom, like him, because he looks fantastic.
Yeah, and he, like you said, Tom, he's got that grittiness, so he comes off as being abrasive,
worldly,
yeah, and taking Matt's money, not giving it back, but then afterwards, when it like that tenderness, that He was
teaching him a
by
lesson
people who didn't understand.
Yeah.
And goes out of his way to bury this random ideal he shouldn't even care about because he's got that softness in his heart. And I just,
It's beautiful.
Such a perfect melding of those two different sides of his personality. And I loved it.
Yeah. I like that this is another way that they're making the viewer who isn't a book fan not know who the dragon is. Tom is bonding to Matt instead of Rand like he did in the books, and ascribing his nephew, who was a channeler, and his story to Matt, and the way Matt is the things that are happening to Matt. So that's another way that they're doing that, and I like that too. Like Matt is the perfect character to do that to in the way they've built him here, because he's lacking of a father figure. So it makes sense for Matt to attach to him, because Tom is kind of taking over this father figure role in his life, which is what he was lacking. Or, any parental figure at that point.
Definitely.
And it's interesting yet again also for the non-readers, like we all know what the dagger does to Matt.
Yeah.
They have no idea the significance of it. So like him starting to, you can, like the sun, and it's like they are throwing in these small things. Mm-hmm. And it's, sorry, I know that's, I'm watching the show with a non-reader. So it's really interesting getting that type of feedback, because he was like, wait, why is he now like being an asshole? And it's like, oh, you said you didn't want spoilers.
That would be an interesting thing. Erin, read the series before I met her. My wife read the series before I met her too. So when we're watching it, I don't get that. That would be fun to do. I've always liked going through, like when introducing people to the books, like experiencing it through them, which not to get sentimental, but that's always been something I loved, is being able to experience the series through people that are finding it for the first time. Like when I introduce it to them, or when anyone introduces it to them, like, reading the books. This show, another huge reason why I like the changes that they've made is because we get to experience it for the first time again, kind of like through this show. And that's so special. Like how often do you get to experience something that you love twice, for the first time?
I think the bottom line for this is the show is not replacing the books at all. Books will live on forever. They're always going to be there. And it's finding that, okay, going back to the whole like Tam story and like the thing through the woods and Rand panicking and pulling him.
Yeah.
I think the perfect example is going to be Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was 3 books, kind of small compared to Wheel of Time books. And they were full-on movies with extended editions, just trying to get in the details. You can't do that with a TV show. Like you can't. And even if they decided to go the movie route, literally this would be longer than Marvel. Like it is almost an impossibility to be able to do the page by page justice that a lot of people want. And like, just read the books and be happy with your books, because the books are always going to be there. The books are what brought us all here. But this is it's a new beginning, but it is not the beginning. Yeah, I went there.
The idea of it being a different turning of the wheel, or maybe even like a Portal Stone world, is a good way to headcanon it, to make it make sense and in it. But like not talking about trying to do page for page and scene for scene reenactments from the book to the show. Like how boring would it be for just to have a character going like this with an inner monologue playing in the background? Like that would be the most boring thing. Or
they're eating a meal for 30 frickin' pages.
Yeah, like come on. Like while reading that is important, because it builds the character's personality for you to imagine. They can do that on screen in seconds with different things, which is what they did with Perrin. Him killing his wife is what is making him slightly less inclined toward violence and to being gentler and more careful about things and broodier, which is more of an interesting thing to see. And someone also mentioned, I like the fact that Perrin isn't depicted as this gigantic bodybuilder, because blacksmiths don't need to be that. But like the blacksmiths come in all shapes and sizes. Like
if you look at him, he is bigger than the other guys.
Oh, much bigger.
He's definitely broader. Like it is yet I keep keeping he's grounded in a reality. He's not going to be like Dwayne Johnson. Like it's not.
No, that's
So
not a
in our
normal
minds, when
thing.
you read it, yeah,
No.
like it's not that he's working out every day and taking protein powder and watching his macros and doing like BCCAs.
Yeah.
Like this is a small town. He's a blacksmith. He is going to be bigger. He's going to be bulkier, but he's also a young
A
adult
person.
eating and drinking and having fun. Like
Yeah. He doesn't go to the gym. Do you know what it takes to look like that? Like the
I don't
people
want
in
to do
this
it.
town don't work out. They don't have a workout regiment. They go to their job every day. His job happens to include lifting heavy things, so he will be stronger. But like if you like you could go look up blacksmiths, they make them they're in people are in different sizes and shapes all over the place. Like
Like
there are
Layla, they gave her muscle, and I
yeah, she
loved
has
it.
muscle definition,
They
but
gave her the physicality.
she's what like 18 inches shorter than him and probably 100
Yeah,
pounds lighter. Like it's you know what I mean? And she's a perfectly capable blacksmith.
and yeah,
Yeah, that's just, I mean, again, that's an aesthetic thing for a personal aesthetic thing. That doesn't make Marcus Rutherford a bad parent. It doesn't make the show bad. Whether you, and this is the thing that always bothers me when people make these declarative, definitive statements. The show is bad because, or this person is bad because, or this actor is bad because, or I don't like
you make
this
it
because.
personal.
That's fine. You can not like it. Like you can have that opinion. I just hate those declarative statements of it is bad. You know, like you
The show
have,
sucks.
yeah. Like come on, come
Are
on.
you 5?
Yeah.
Use words.
Like yeah. Have a constructive reason
I'm
for it.
losing
Talk
binge.
about it. Engage. Like that's so boring just to make these declarative
Like if
statements.
it's not how you pictured it, that is totally fine. Like
It's not how I pictured
completely
it.
understandable. Not how I pictured it,
Yeah.
but there's yet again, yeah. That I mean, it just goes also back to mindset. And if you're taking, yeah, again, are you the one drop or are you trying to be a part of the ocean? Like, have some grace. They are still keeping true to the heart. This is still a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of the characters have done anything out of character. Like the position they might be in, the situation they're in is a little bit different. But Book Rand would have made all those decisions if he had been there. Book Matt would have
Yeah.
made all those decisions. Book Perrin would have made all those decisions. So they're true to their characters.
So someone mentioned the is Layla a dark friend theory again. Yes, we did talk about that earlier about Layla possibly being a dark friend. And it is a very interesting theory.
It's very possible. You could definitely see it happening. I mean, obviously, we don't have any definitive. We're just 3
The
super
building
nerds.
blocks are there. The building blocks for it are there.
Yes.
Whether they dive into it or not remains to be seen. Personally, I think that they will when they start to delve into Pat and Fane a bit more. But that also depends on if they are going to make Pat and Fane as much as an important thing in the story as he was in the books. Let's see. What else has people said that we can dive into? Yeah, someone said definitely Portal Stone vibes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, like it could be a what if world. I personally, I don't think so. I just think that this is the way they're doing it. But
if that helps you appreciate the show more,
exactly,
then why not?
then yeah, headcanon that stuff. I'm all about headcanning it. Let's look at the YouTube comments and see what we got.
Oh yeah, we're on the YouTubes.
Yeah, I'm like scrolling between like 5 different chats to see what people are saying. Who haven't we talked about yet? Ooh, the White Cloaks. They
The
Yeah.
armor, like the side arm piece, beautifully done.
there's so much going on with them, like that is in the books they're much more of a joke, like especially like the first time we meet them, Moraine even says like they're just a nuisance or something like that, like they're like whatever, and then Matt plays that trick on them where they roll the barrels down the street and it splashes mud all over them, so like they they're not, even right from the beginning they're built up to be not a big deal, and that is not the case here.
They are true antagonists.
Yeah.
Abdul Salis, and if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, I'm sorry. I tried to look up pronunciations to make sure I got it right, and I think that I'm getting it right. But he is amazing as Eamon Valda. Oh my god. Like, holy crap. Like I'm thinking he personally, the actor, might be a sociopath because of how good he is.
And I love the difference between him and
Bornhold?
Well, was it Bornhold?
Yeah.
The guy, but who's the leader of the White Cloaks? I thought that was him.
Pedron Niel.
Pedron Niel, that's it. So that was
however Pedron Niel, whatever, yeah.
So it was Bornhold.
They're captured when Perrin and Egwene are captured by Bornhold. It's him.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about in the show.
Yeah, in the show, yeah, that's Bornhold, the white-haired with the gold arm that says go see an Aes Sedai for healing.
Them, though, he told them you need an Aes Sedai for healing. Right. I love that juxtaposition between the murderer and the I hate them, but that's what you need. Yeah. Like, it's an interesting seeing that division, and they brought that pretty clearly. That's so weird. I didn't realize that was Bornhold. So hey, learn a new thing.
Geofran Bornhold, by the way.
So, like, I don't agree with this. Psychology is what he's saying. Like, the Aes Sedai are witches to me, but you have your right to believe whatever you want.
Yes.
And that's amazing to see it.
At first, when they run into the party in the forest, I thought Bornhold and Valda were doing like a good cop bad cop routine. Like, Bornhold comes up and is nice and stuff, and then Valda comes up and drives it home. But the interaction that they had immediately after that showed that no, they do have kind of like a different, like, there's a difference of opinion and a little bit of tension between them, which is interesting. And the thought of accepting Aes Sedai healing in any sense, even for somebody else from a White Cloak, is a theme that we got later in the books from Galad when he took over the White Cloaks. So like, for them to bring that all the way forward to now, I feel like is going to make for interesting goings-ons with the White Cloaks, moving forward.
Well, in the books, Jeffrey Bornhold had honor. I mean, and Perrin even said that, like, he fought with him at Falme. The White Cloak sided with them fighting against the Shan-Chan. And so when Dean comes over and is like, "Oh, you killed my father," and he's like, "No, I didn't." So I like that they're establishing that there could be some good, honorable White Cloaks. Yeah. Not all of them are psychopaths like Valda.
Yeah.
That's another thing I think that they're doing. They're not everything is, they're not doing black and white, like how you can read things in the books, even though it's not always, but it's,
And they did, they're making the White Cloaks more of a threat, but also making it like maybe they're not all terrible at the same time, while they're making the Aes Sedai, and Moiraine in particular, be like, maybe they're not all good. Because, like, personally, like, watching that episode where she let the ferryman die,
he chose
to, but like, she could have wrapped him up in air and stopped him from jumping in the water. She could have pulled him out of the water once she finished the weave. Like,
but
maybe she could have. Maybe she could have. Yeah, maybe she could have. Like, I don't, like, we don't know where she was at in exhaustion levels and stuff like that at that point. But, like, it's not 100% that she couldn't have. And then, or even just said, "Hey, like, don't jump in there. Like, I can't stop this," or whatever. And then when she, in the first episode, when she essentially destroys the Wine Spring Inn. Now, she does it protecting everybody. And and there's also, when she makes the lightning strike, the Trollocs, it sets fire to the tree that's in the green. Now, I don't think that makes her a bad person, but that is a good setup for, like, the eyes of the people to be like, to create a dislike with the Aes Sedai, because, like, when they come in, they help, but they also destroy all these things. And, like, it's going to make an interesting dynamic with them, I think, if they play into it. I mean, they did a little bit when the ferryman was like, "The White Cloaks are right, you are all monsters."
They offered to pay him. Obviously, it's clear what side I'm on for this one, just in that specific scenario. But, like,
if she would have saved him and put him back on land, he would have jumped right back in. Like, he was not on getting over there. kind of like Bornhall. She's like, okay, I don't believe that that's the right choice, but you're free to make your own choices. Go jump in the water and throw away your life.
Yep. Yep. And it's just also funny that he was like, "You're a monster," while there were literal monsters like 80 feet away.
What was he gonna think was gonna happen? Like
Right.
literally, what in his like?
Yeah,
What are you gonna do? Go talk to the Trollocs?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was a little
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a choice. He made a dumb.
People are
choice.
irrational and don't think logically. Who would have thought?
What?
Well, he was concerned for his son. So I mean, I'm not a parent, so I don't have that paternal instinct myself, but I'm sure a parent would be like, oh my gosh, my child over there, I'm going to try to get to them.
I get that,
Exactly.
but still, there's 100,000 Trollocs.
Exactly.
Exaggeration of a number, but like you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
So we've been going for a while now, and I'm good to keep going for a little bit, but we should start wrapping it up soon. It's been great talking to all you guys. Is there anything else that anyone that you guys, Maureen or Kitty, is there anything else you guys want to mention, or is there anything, that the chat would like us to talk about before we dip out of here and go have our weekends?
Yes, let's talk about Lan. He's a lot different than in the books, and I adore it. Like,
I mean, I'll talk about Daniel Henney all day, but
not aloof. He's smiling. He wants the water to be warmed. Like, that's just amazing.
yeah. I like, so, and again, this goes back to like the so real quick, Star Night Song. I'll talk about that because that is a good. We didn't talk about the weaving or channeling at all, and its portrayal. So yeah, we will mention that before we finish. But back to Lan real quick. The portrayal. Again, this is back to something that we've that I've said a couple times, and you guys have said a couple times already. The way the characters were portrayed in the books was a very dated portrayal of fantasy tropic characters. And Lan was one of those types of characters. Lan was the Aragorn. And like that type of character, to be perfectly honest, is kind of boring. Like he still has that feeling. He's very monosyllabic, like in the beginning. Like one of my favorite scenes in the first episode is when one of my favorite scenes in the first episode is when Maureen walks, like after they get to the Two Rivers and it's the next morning and she's walking through the village square with Lan, and they seem to have a conversation without Lan having to say a single word, which was fantastic.
That's fantastic.
But like he still has that very, straight to the point, gruff attitude while still being human.
Yes, that's the thing. They humanized him. Yeah. It's like in the books, you're like stoic, stone, rock.
No one is like that.
In love. Like it's a very just like, Nynaeve, you planted a seed in my heart and it broke down the stone walls. Yeah. Like it's very much stereotypical, like those romance covers where there's always the woman swooning in the man's arms. Like this yet again grounds it, brings it to reality because he is still stoic. Like he is still like planes on his face and he's still Lan, but now we can see, all right, there's a little bit of personality there.
Yeah.
You're not empty.
Exactly. And that's I do like that immensely with Lan specifically, but all of the characters, even Maureen, like she smiles and like makes
cry at one point.
Yeah. I think so. Or at least it might have been in the previews.
Oh, when she's in white? Is that
yeah.
But shoot. With but Lynn, the interactions with Lan and Nynaeve. So after, she's got her sword to his throat and he's like, how do you find me? And and then he's like, you're not gonna like put down your sword. We know you're not gonna do it. And she does. Yeah. And it's like totally false is bullshit. Like, no, I'm gonna do it.
He's like, damn, okay.
Yeah, fantastic. Like just every interaction with them was perfect.
Yeah. It's really building up this the relationship that they're going to have. There was even during the blue carpet event in London, there was a moment when Zoe snuck up on Daniel when he was like interviewing and like grabbed his shoulders and shook him. That was it. It looks like they do have a lot of charisma together, and I hope that comes out. Like it already has been coming out, but like it comes out more when they move on in the show. So a couple of people were asking about weaving and CGI, so I feel like we could talk about those two things at the same time. Yeah. my feelings on the CGI is that they've sprinkled in just enough for it to be good without feeling like, these people are just standing on a big green soundstage somewhere, which they're not. Most of this is on set. I want to say Rafe said all, if not he might have said all of the big scenic shots are like mostly real. Like some of the background stuff they've put in, but that big scenic shot in the beginning where the women are walking toward the women's circle, he said that is 100% the shot that they took. There's no CG in that scene. But most of the big scenes are little to no CG. And then the Trollocs themselves are mostly practical. Obviously, channeling isn't real, no matter how much we wish it so. But to channeling in particular, what did you guys think?
It was impressive. I liked it. The hand motions are a little cumbersome, but I can see for a visual medium, you want to see all this hand waving.
It's interesting because what are you going to do? Just watch somebody be like this?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I think I mentioned it earlier, or I might have just said it at some other point in the last week, but I think they're going to use that as a way to juxtapose the different groups of channelers. The Aes Sedai don't know everything. They think you need these hand motions, but you don't. It's similar to the way they did it in Harry Potter, where it's like you're taught, and again for the same reasons, like you said, Kitty, it's much more visually entertaining to watch. Where in Harry Potter, they do the wands, but they have to speak the spells, which is much more entertaining to hear these fun words that they're making up for spells and stuff. And the same thing with the weaving, these fun hand motions that they're doing with weaving. Whereas later in the Harry Potter series, we learn you actually can cast spells without speaking. But if they did that from the beginning, that would have been boring for everyone to watch, people going like this. Quietly,
well, the other thing is that they don't know, or you guys know, but they worked on the weaves. So there's going to be different hand motions, different style. To me, it's almost a dance. There's a gracefulness, there's a calmness to it. But spirit, fire, water, earth, they're all going to have a little bit different. And I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Because they're not just saying, oh, all of the weaves are the same. There is going to be a difference. And I do believe there's potentially going to be different colors shown for channeling. Somebody should fact check me.
I don't think that we know for sure yet. I mean, we haven't seen everything.
Okay, we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure, but there's definitely going to be different. They worked on it. They had a choreographer. There's going to be different styles of movements for different styles of weaving, and that to me shows an appreciation of not just oh, it's magic.
Yeah. I mean, we do that. I mean, people could correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like we do see bits of different color at some points, and in the posters, there's definitely different colors.
Yeah, that's.
But I personally, I think it's just that we haven't seen the point of view of the actual visual point of view from someone who can channel, a female who can channel, watching someone who can channel. I think once we actually get into scenes of Egwene and Nynaeve in the White Tower learning, we'll start hearing things like, you use threads of air and threads of fire and blah, 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 blah. Right now, that's not poignant. That's not what they want to do. That we have a fully fledged Aes Sedai who is experienced in weaving, throwing around all kinds of stuff. And they'll break it down and, again, organically teach us about the One Power later.
Yeah.
That's my feeling.
Threads, can we talk about the opening?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
I know we do probably have to go. It's been in
2 hours almost, but yeah.
Has it really?
Yeah, we're nearing. It's been an hour and 40 minutes.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure to, real quick, shameless plugs, make sure to go check out Dragonmount.com.
Oh, yeah.
The Dusty Wheel is going to be doing that talk show. We love Matt Hatch. I've known Matt we've all known Matt for going on 20 years because we're old. Oh my God.
Speak for yourself.
Check out all the social medias, share, all that nonsense. I'm terrible about doing that, but
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Bella's there just saying.
If you like us, that is. If you don't like us, then that's your purview.
If you don't like us, why are you here? This is a fan-based group. Go hate somewhere else. That's yet again, you can have an opinion, but
yeah,
go to a non-fan-based group.
Exactly.
But yes, no,
the opening.
I love
sequence.
the opening with the weaving because yet again, that brings in the whole wheel, that brings in the pattern, that brings in the weaves, for people who have not read the books and haven't read these words hundreds of times and talking about the pattern and oh, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. Like, I love that. It's not even subliminal. It is in your face of like, it's gorgeous. I think it was beautifully done.
Mm-hmm. The music too. Oh my God. I mean, we haven't even mentioned the music once yet. And the score of this show is absolutely fantastic. Every single song so far, I've really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, the opening is Moraine Sedai, I believe, on the soundtrack.
Okay.
But yeah, it's super good. And I like the representation of all the Ajas. I would really like to have a still and explore it a little bit more. Just what jumps off is the green sisters holding a sword, the blue
and then sideways.
Yeah, so she's the one that's out in the world.
And they are all diversified because they are from the entire freaking world.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot to talk about there, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we should immediate confirmation that all 7 Ajas are there.
Yes.
People don't have to be scared that they cut the whites or the grays or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should thank you from Dragonmount. I don't know. Are we ending?
It's a good idea. Yeah, no, we should start wrapping up. So I haven't seen any other questions come in other than the weaving and the CG. So thanks everyone for coming and hanging out with us. We're gonna try to make these Saturday lives like a regular thing to talk about the latest episodes as they come out. So you could check out probably the same time again, watch our feeds or Twitter feed and stuff like that for exact times, but it's probably going to be starting around the same time again. You'll have our faces to look at and talk about stuff. So if there's anything in particular you guys want to talk about in the upcoming lives, post it on our social media and we'll make sure to include it. And, maybe we can pull some other fun, surprising guests in future episodes.
Thank you all so much. We are Dragonmount. I'm Kitty.
I'm Maureen.
Yeah, like introduce yourselves, guys.
Yes. And I'm Tom. I do the WOT Community Show. Maureen is going to be doing the podcast, another shameless plug, and Kitty is also my co-host in the WOT Community Show, but she does her amazing TikToks too. Please go check out her TikToks. And thanks for joining us, and we will see
you guys
next time.
Sounds good.